Hey guys, welcome to my live. How are you all doing today? Welcome guys. Today we are going to talk about the father wound. Super deep topic. I'm not going to go too deep on it though, but we're going to talk about the father wound today, which is caused by absent fathers and neglectful fathers. So guys, you know how it goes now. You know, if you're joining me on my channel, Freedom Mastery Success, and you're a part of my tribe, please like, share and subscribe to this channel if you feel like this type of topic is something that you're interested in and you're going to get some value or some help from. If you're joining me on my Facebook Live or if you're in my Facebook group, Freedom Mastery Success, then hashtag live, let me know where you're joining me from, or hashtag replay, let me know where you're joining me from. Also, go and grab yourself a drink, you know, get your favourite tipple, you know how it goes now, favourite tipple, tea, coffee, juice, water, alcohol, whatever it is at whatever time of day it is you're joining me. Go and get your favourite tipple. Let's have a conversation about father wounds, because guys, they are more common than what you would think. So guys, today I am in my local park. Let me see if I can turn around my screen. Just a second guys. Oh, somebody's joined me on there. Just a second. There we go. Guys, yes, I am in the local park. The kids are out playing. It's lovely and sunny here in the UK. So I thought, hey, why not? Let me go and do my live in the park again. I am going to get out and about, guys. If you check my stories, you'll see that I've been out and about today as well. It's very interesting where I went today. So guys, yes, let's talk about the father wound. Because as I said, it's a lot more common than what you would think in men and in women. And now the father wound is caused by neglectful fathers or absent fathers, okay? And it just causes deep wounds. It makes a real significant impact on the individual, and a lot of the time that impact is still playing out as we become adults. You know, it really does start to manifest in our life in different ways that you really wouldn't even think that certain behaviors are a result of these childhood wounds, and the absent father wound in particular. So in my own experience, I experienced an absent father, physically and emotionally absent, and you know, and abusive. And yeah, so for me, you know, I felt really abandoned, I felt rejected, and they were the wounds that were created for me as a child, growing up into an adult. Now other people may experience you know, these father abandonment wounds as, say for example, your parents got divorced when you was very young, and you know, maybe your father, you know, didn't show up when he said he was going to come and show up and pick you up for, you know, he's supposed to take you out somewhere, he didn't show up, or he'd phone last minute and say, oh, we can't make it because he's watching the football game or something, right? Or there was a betrayal of trust, which is what happened with me and my father. There was a deep betrayal of trust there, or just things that make you feel devalued as a child. And the thing is, as children, we don't know how to express our needs and, you know, our wants. We don't know how to express that to people, and these deep feelings that we're feeling, these neglectful or rejection feelings, we don't know how to explain them as children. And so we just kind of internalize it all. And you know, for myself, at quite a young age, I didn't know how to express those feelings. So what I did was just internalized it all. And a lot of the time, hurt turns into anger, and that starts to manifest on the inside. I got to the age where I say I was probably about 19, and what I had to learn to do was I had to let go of me ever having a kind of a father in my life. I had to let him go because there was nothing positive that I was getting from that relationship. It was just making me feel rejected and abandoned. And so yeah, I just had to learn to let go of that relationship, and it was really tough, but we'll talk more on that later. So guys, what does a neglectful father look like? Okay, so it could be that you know, death. Now I don't really say neglectful. Death is a father being neglectful. It's kind of, that's a bit different. If the father's died, that's a little bit different, but you could still get father wounds, absent father wounds, if your father died. for me, a neglectful father is more of a father who has made a conscious choice not to make their child a priority in their life. To me, that is a neglectful father. It's somebody who chooses to live their life and not make their child a priority in their life. Now, this can even happen as, somebody who's been divorced, or somebody who's had an accident, and somebody who's still living in the home, but just not present, emotionally present. They're just not there. They're not supportive of the child. And this can be as a result of addictions, it can be a result of narcissism, and it can be a result of mental health. All right, so that is really what an absent or neglectful father is. It's somebody who makes that choice not to make their child a priority in their life. Now, for people who do go through these type of father wounds, it can really change you as a person, especially, as I said, as you're growing up into adulthood. These types of things can really change you as a person. It can change your personality on how you are treating yourself. It can change your personality on how you start to relate to others, and it really can have some lifelong implications in your life. Okay, and so some of the patterns, let's have a look at some of the patterns that kind of come up as a result of father wound, of the absent father wound. You can become self-sacrificing. So this is that type of people-pleasing type person where you sacrifice your own needs to make somebody else happy. You can be the good helper, which is that codependency type person, always wanting to be there to help people all the time. You can start to abandon yourself. Okay, that self-abandonment is super deep as well. You can start to experience deep levels of rejection. Now, somebody may reject you, and normally it'd be fine. It would say no, it'll be fine. But because you've already got a deep rejection wound, now it has rubbed on that wound, and you experience these really deep levels of rejection. Okay, and also the avoidant attachment. Somebody who's quite avoidant in their attachment with other people, you just don't connect. You just it's a way of protecting yourself, and you just avoid getting into those deep emotional vulnerable places with people. You just don't do it, and so you just do anything to avoid getting deep in a relationship. You'll be very surface in your relationships, and these are the type of patterns that start to show up as a result of an absent father. Okay, so yeah, when a father is not providing no validation or support for that child really does tend to turn that inwards and starts to question themselves. Okay, because you're going to start saying to yourself, if my own dad doesn't want to have nothing to do with me, if my own dad doesn't see the value in me, then who else is going to see the value in me? Okay, and what people tend to do is they block out their intuition. You kind of block out from your intuition. So now what you're doing is you're just connecting with people on a level where it's all about the other person. You literally start to go through life as a victim. Okay, you're a victim in relationships. You're a victim to life. You're just kind of going along with whatever, and intuitively you're just not in touch with yourself, and so you're just kind of floating along with the wind. Okay, so let me have a look who's been online with us, because I've seen a few people jump on and a few people have had to jump off. Oh, we're looking at, there's Lucy. She says, hi Lucy, thank you for joining me on my live. How are you doing? I hope you're well. You've got Nadine Crooks joining me on the live. Hey Nadine, how are you doing? And Mwande, he's joining me on the live. Hi Mwande, how are you doing? Thanks for joining me on the live. He says many people are suffering from mother and father wounds, and it is so true, because I've realised that the truth is that we can't even come to this planet without a mother or a father, right? Number one, you can't be born without having a mother or a father. And then number two is that we don't have instruction booklets on how to raise children, and every child is different anyway. And so, people can make a simple little mistake and not realising how that can create a wound in their child. For example, something as simple as this. As a child, let's just say you spilt a drink on the floor and your mum said to you, or your dad said to you, oh, you're so stupid, go and clean it up. Something as simple as that can leave you with a lifelong wound believing that you are stupid. and now you grow up and it doesn't matter how many people try and tell you that you're intelligent, that you're smart, that you're clever, you've got this wound just by your parents saying, not even realising that at the time that was going to cause such a deep wound, calling you stupid for the drink spilling on the floor. So a lot of the times, guys, we don't have these instruction booklets on how to raise children. And something as little as that can cause a childhood wound. Something as little as a teacher saying something wrong to you can cause a childhood wound. But a lot of the times, we've got these mother and father wounds by neglectful parents, neglectful mothers. I'm going to be doing one on the mother wound, which is super deep, as you can imagine, because we have a bond with our mother. So when we start to create mother wounds now, these are super deep. But the father wound are just as deep. They are just as deep, so don't get it twisted, guys. But yes, guys, thank you for joining me on my live. Lucy's saying, you're looking well, babes. Thanks, Luce. How are you doing? I hope you're well. Hope we can catch up soon. Right, so let me carry on quickly with the live because I don't want to keep this all too long. But, if you're getting some kind of value from this, don't forget to hit the like button, share this. If you're on my YouTube channel, subscribe to my channel. And share this video to whoever you feel may get some value from it, or it might help them, because I'm telling you guys, so many of us are walking around with mother-father wounds and we don't know. We don't know what the after effects are. So when we're acting in certain ways, we're not realizing that they're stemming from these wounds. Okay, so another thing that can happen is to us, another part of the wound and the manifestation of the wound is identity crisis. Not really knowing who we are. We struggle to just know ourself, know thyself type thing. We can have a lack of confidence. The father wound can leave you with a deep lack of confidence, and also deep levels of low self-esteem and low no value, not knowing how to value self. So those kind of things we get left with. So as I said, if you think to yourself, well, if my dad doesn't see the value in me, then who is going to see the value in me? And so now you just start to go through life just feeling worthless, like you're not enough, you're less than. And these type of deep wounds really start to manifest in our adulthood and set us up for a life of unhappiness. So, as I said, as a child, you start to turn that inwards, and that hurt will turn to anger, and then will start to turn into depression. And you start to get to these places of, you have this internal critic who's always putting you down. You have these levels of perfectionism. You start to blame yourself for all sorts of different things. All these different things going on, but you're not understanding where they've manifested from or where they're coming from. Okay, it starts to affect your relationship with other people. Okay, you get into these relationships where you're constantly being in relationships where you're not feeling valued, but you're staying in these relationships. Even the relationship with yourself is literally non-existent. You've got this internal critic that talks to you very negatively, very harshly, and it's just not a great place to be in. Okay, so what happens is when you get into these relationships, you start to now play different personas or start to wear different hats, because you want to be accepted in the relationships, but you don't know which part of yourself is going to be accepted. So you start playing out, and you start, trying to be all these different people to see which one will get accepted. You struggle with setting healthy boundaries for yourself, knowing what your limits are, not really knowing what you're not saying what your needs are. You don't know what your needs are in relationships, and so you're not setting healthy boundaries because you don't know. As I said, you've got the internal critic that is constantly all about perfectionism. If you don't do something to a perfectionate level, is that even a word, perfectionate, right? But a level of perfection, then the internal critic starts to really go in at you, right? You get to a point where you can't be vulnerable in relationships. You don't like intimacy. You just don't go there because you feel like you're going to be left in the cold. And that's because as a child, that is what you went through. Deep down in your bones, that's the truth of it, that you will be left in the cold. And so you don't go there. You don't be vulnerable. You don't get emotional. You don't do intimacy. And also that thing of not being able to say no. And this is super important, because saying no is super important. But a lot of these people with father wounds, we don't like to say no because we feel like the other person won't like us. And all this thing is about being validated and being accepted from outside of ourselves, because we never got that from the person who was supposed to do that for us. He was supposed to build that up in us, and so we look for it externally. So guys, those are the ways that the father wound, the absent father wound, starts to manifest in our life as we start to grow into adults. So what can we do to start healing these wounds? This is the important bit, right? So the first thing that you have to do, which is what I had to do, is you have to let go of the fantasy about your father being this amazing person, being this amazing dad, and all the rest of it. You know, I used to want to be daddy's little girl and daddy's little princess and blah blah blah. I had to let it all go and realize that he's just a human being who has flaws just like everybody else. Okay, and I really had to get my head around that. And I also, in letting that go, you have to go through a deep grieving process. Now this can be really tough because you're really suffering like a deep loss, and the thing is that the person's still alive. The person's still alive, walking around, breathing, they're all right, but you have to go through this period of grieving and loss for the person, because you're having to learn to let go of them. Then you also have to go through a time of reparenting yourself. So you have to become your protector and become your nurturer, and that is super important. Learning to reparent yourself, that is really the crux of it all. Another one is to, you know, start to learn to stop getting into these same relationships where we're with these neglectful partners. You know, these neglectful partners who really just playing out the same thing that our parent did, that our father did, because we're used to how that feels. We get into these relationships where we keep going through the same thing, and we're with these neglectful partners. And the thing for people with fatherhood, with absent father wounds, they struggle to trust. Just the basic trust is super hard for them, and so it's tough for them to get into relationships and then having to have this level of trust. So that's really hard. And then again, we have to look at the other types of relationships around us, relationships with our siblings who may have the same father but didn't go through the same thing that you went through with your father. You know, the relationship with your mother, you know, they may be questioning, well, why are you acting like this towards dad? It could be all different things. So all these different things are going on that we have to look at, all right, when it comes to our healing. Now the thing is, if you feel like that you may have an issue in this area, you may have father wounds, even mother wounds that are playing out in your life and stopping you from really achieving those levels of joy, those inner joy that you want to reach. You know, you might think that, okay, yeah, I really resonated with some of that, you know, and I would recommend that you maybe go and look for a therapist and get some therapy, because some of it is really deep and you will need professional help with it. So it would be really going to look for a therapist. Another way of healing it is to really go about that self-love. As I said, it's that reparenting the inner child. It's really getting deep on your self-love practices, really listening to yourself and understanding what your needs are and fulfilling those needs, and not expecting people outside of you, not expecting the outer world to fill those holes that you've got. You have to learn to fill them yourself, and this is all part of the healing process, guys. Okay, we have to learn to set boundaries for ourselves, healthy boundaries where we are honouring ourselves, knowing that it's okay to say no. Okay, learning to set really healthy boundaries for ourselves, and again, like I said, it's that reparenting, which is really important. Okay guys, so that's what I want to share with you today. Now, one more thing I want to share with you, that if you really feel like, you know, this is some work that you have to do, I'm working on at the moment putting together an ebook or a course that is going to be really looking at and tending to healing the father wound. So if you feel like you'd be interested in something like that, I want you to reach out to me in my private inbox. Okay, we're going to be looking at things like how the father wound happened, how it's manifesting in your life now, you know, looking at the core beliefs around that father wound that are preventing us from moving forward. We're also going to be looking at healthy boundaries. We're going to be looking at healthy adult communication. We're going to be looking at assertiveness and reconnecting with our intuition, which is super important, because our intuition is our own personal GPS. That is really what navigates us through life without us having to make any of these big pitfalls. When we learn to listen to our intuition, it will never guide us wrong. But so many of us with mother-father wounds have tapped out and have disconnected from our intuition. So that's something else we're going to be looking at, is reconnecting with our intuition and also building healthy relationships. So I'm working on an ebook at the moment. I might turn it into a mini course, I'm not sure, but if you feel like that's something that you'd be interested in, reach out to me, or even drop it in the comments that you'd be interested in the ebook or the course, and then I can reach back out to you when it's done and offer it to you as a gift. All right, guys, so I hope you got some value from that today. Guys, if you're joining me on my channel, my YouTube channel, Freedom Mastery Success, please like, share and subscribe. Come and join the family. It's all love here, and we offer a nice sacred space for everybody to communicate and connect with each other. Okay, if you're joining me in my Facebook group or my Facebook Live, please like and share this video to any groups or to anybody who you feel may get some value from this type of information. As I said, guys, the mother wound, the father wound, is so much more common than what we think. And a lot of us are going through life struggling with the manifestations of these wounds and thinking that that's just how life is supposed to be, not knowing that these behaviors, these patterns, these limiting beliefs are all a manifestation of something that happened to us in our childhood. So going forward, guys, let's do our inner work. Let's do the work. I am here to help you to do your work, all right? Reach out to me if you need to. On that note, I will see you all soon.